Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Saving the World Together with Luke Macmichael and Martin Rezny. Today, we have our second interview with the Golden Door crew. We have Tahira Amir Khan from Through the Golden Door, focusing on our eco-societies and all the different leaders of the different eco-societies around the world. So thanks so much for joining us. We also have Thabang Makwetla, who Tahira will also introduce a little bit. So thanks so much for joining us. And Tahira, we'll leave it to you.
Thank you so much, Luke and Martin. Good to be here to share about what we're doing for the eco-societies and particularly introducing the leaders, the ambassadors across the world. As the founder, I'm very happy to introduce Thabang Makwetla, based in South Africa, Winterveld. I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, Thabang.
That's correct.
So Thabang, I got to know Thabang through his mother. She is a very prominent lady, Angie Makwetla, a human rights commissioner based in South Africa. We've known her for years, and they've experienced things like, the femicide, which is the female killing, which is a common, very, very serious issue in South Africa. And a family has experienced that. And human rights is something that is in the family, in that Makwetla family. I've noticed that. And Thabang has been working on the agriculture, the vertical farming, and for some time as he set up the eco-societies. So he started with that, and then he is expanding into for the children and how that comes together. So Thabang, when we work with leaders, the first thing is that look at the values, as I said, value-based eco-societies. So values being important in the leaders who step in, as they know that when you build an eco-society, that's the foundation. So Thabang, would you like to share more about yourself and what you're doing?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Luke. And thank you, Terry, for the kind introduction. Yes, I'm Thabang Makwetla. I come from South Africa. I'm based in Johannesburg. I'm actually born in Soweto. Fortunate enough to have been born on the same street as the late Nelson Mandela and Bishop Tutu as well. So we grew up running around and knowing about these wonderful men who had sacrificed everything for the good of their communities. I then took an interest. My background really is hospitality. From Africa, I trained as a hotelier. And then later on, I went on to do my own, went and I studied for my master's. With a very strong focus on small-scale farmers and the role that they could play in alleviating poverty and more especially hunger in South Africa. And this came about because my family then was fortunate enough to acquire a piece of land in an area called Winterveld in the northern part of Johannesburg. And in Winterveld, really, these are small-scale farmers with arable land, but they lack resources. They sit with this land lying fallow only because they can't afford to farm this land. But what also struck me when we arrived in Winterveld is just how, yes, the people, the community and the people are generally poor, like most communities in this country, in the rural part of South Africa. Most communities are very poor. However, malnutrition seems to be a big issue. It's either you have obese people, community members, or you have really skinny and thin, underfed community members, and not through a lack of food, but really through a lack of nutritional food, food that has nutritional value. And what tends to happen when people don't have a source of income, they tend to go for the cheapest source of food, and most of these are imitations. They are bad for them. You see children break out in skin rashes and everything else. But most importantly, stunted growth and behavioral issues. A lot of criminality as a result of just really being bullying as a result of just not being, just not having the nourishment that young children need. So a lot of what we talk about tonight has a lot to do with just making sure that your average South African, has access to nutritional food, food that is rich in all the various nutrients to bring up a young child. And essentially, we focus then on agriculture playing a big role, but also just targeting children at that developmental stage when they need nutrition to be able to focus, to be able to follow and concentrate, and to be able to develop physically, psychologically. This is where we hope to make the most intervention. And our focus really, as far as early childhood development goes, is really around the nutritional aspect of looking after a young child. And in short, that's really what we are all about.
Excellent. Thanks so much for the introduction, Thabang. So how people are currently involved in the Winterveld EcoSociety right now?
Currently, we are made up of 7, but the 7 who are involved in the EcoSociety then have extended family members. We are all small-scale farmers who own land. Some of us farm the land, open field farming. Others don't have the resources to farm the land. And the idea then was to form this EcoSociety to see how best we can help resource ourselves to be able to generate as much income for a start, but also then to be able to access nutritional food.
Excellent. So I'm very curious about kind of how it's different from another form of co-op that might be in there. We talked yesterday a little bit about co-ops in our other interview. And I'm just kind of curious how the Through the Golden Door Society helps you, and how it kind of is different from other groups doing similar things there.
Well, we've had a number of co-ops come in and around the Winterveld area, but I think through a lack of understanding how to constitute yourself as a grouping, often these tend to fall by the wayside. As soon as resources become available, it seems to be the only focus really, especially when I talk about financial resources becoming. It seems to be the one focus that a lot of want to focus on. But also, I think what would lack in the formation of co-ops is often then your values are also not aligned as individuals. You may be after the same interests, but not necessarily share similar value systems. And this comes about when people are held responsible for looking after the purse, looking after the distribution of other resources, and you start seeing that people bring a lot of their own influences, but also a political leanings that tend to also state something. Then the co-op generally tends to want to focus on one particular section of the community and not the other. And these are some of the dynamics. Through the Golden Door has really assisted us in creating a platform that really challenges us, one, in the selection of like-minded people, individuals who share similar values, who want to make a difference. People say often that it is thankless work, but it is thankless in the sense that there is no remuneration. However, when you see the difference that is made when people are empowered through some of the platforms created through this foundation, it really is an eye-opener. So we differ in that. I think our values are aligned, and we happen to find global like-minded people, like-minded peers who want to battle the same, fight the same battles with us.
That's excellent. Yeah, no, it's definitely been kind of our goal with the Saving the World Together concept. Very similar to Through the Golden Door, is just creating a platform that helps connect people and helps kind of connect all these win-win situations and win-win scenarios, and just getting past some of the old polarization of the different political views and the different philosophies on life, and just to try to find the middle ground where we can kind of meet as humans and really focus on building a better future for everybody. So it really very much sounds like that's what's going on there, and it's kind of great to see it in action and see the kind of different people come together. Are there any ideas to kind of grow or continue to bring new people into the initiative? How's that working?
We haven't. The growth strategy is quite simple. It needs to be organic. It needs to be it needs to impact people who will appreciate the value of one giving your time without expecting anything in return, and also paying it forward, if you know what I mean. We do good for you as an organization, as a collective. You then would want to spread it. But how we thought, we currently do open field farming in the Winterveld area. It's very fertile ground. We get average rainfalls, but we have a high pest load. So we often battle with very high extreme temperatures. We have frost as well. So we had the idea then is to move from open field farming to hydroponic. It allowed us to take so much more control of the various elements. It increases the yield. We then are able to also plant high value crops. This hydroponic part of the project would then be expanded to other deserving farmers. And these deserving farmers are farmers who are willing to put in the time, clear their fields, come and learn about hydroponic farming. And those then would also extend to other farmers as well. And it's really about upskilling people about alternative ways of farming, as opposed to just saying, well, I don't have the mechanization to plow an open field, and therefore I'm just going to sit back and say, can't do much. So that really had, the expansion is really key to what we do. It really can't be about the community of Winterveld only to be able to expand it as well.
I've always been a huge fan of, new age hydroponics and any kind of the new technologies that are working towards, new kinds of food. Do you have hydroponics set up now, or are you just kind of starting to get going with any of it? Or
we are starting. We've just acquired 2 tunnels, but it's just frames. Now we need to find the film that you put up, or the plastic, for lack of a technical word for it. But we would be then starting to acquire the growing medium, the irrigation. We do have farmers who currently use hydroponic as a growing method, and the results have been good throughout the year. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really starting to take off a lot more in Canada now too. Of course, with our cold winters here. I'm in Northern Ontario, Canada. It's one of the main ways we get a lot of our vegetables is greenhouses and hydroponics through the winter. So, and it's really taking off. Like, there's no reason even a country as cold and as large as Canada can't grow all of our own food and become completely self-sufficient. We're finding that now with the States kind of pulling away from us. We've been pulling a large chunk of our food up from them for so long now, and now we're kind of all rethinking things and trying to find new opportunities and new ways. So maybe we'll be coming to Africa and getting some of our food from you guys at some point. Who knows? But it's interesting to see the world progress in so many ways to become self-sufficient and more.
Aren't we also going to find a way around the new order?
Yeah. It's going to be the world against the U.S. at some point. Well, the U.S. and Russia and maybe China too. Hopefully, hopefully we can find a way to work with them somehow without it leading towards World War III, of course. But I don't know.
It would be a great pity, because I think when tempers are level, when people have level heads and tempers are not as flared, they do play a very significant role throughout the world. Yeah. It would be a great pity if that support is withheld,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually curious, just to toss a question out there. Have you ever heard of the precision fermentation agriculture at all? It's a new thing that started to come out in the last couple of years.
Precision fermentation.
Yeah, it's similar to the process we use to kind of make alcohol for the last several hundred years, but they're now using it for things like dairy products. And one of my favorite ones is Solar Foods. It's definitely something to check out if you haven't before. Solar Foods in Finland. It's a brand new tech startup. It's been going for about 5 years now. And they have ways of basically growing food in just kind of a big vat, things similar to wheat. Their thing is called soylean, and it's got, protein and a bunch of soy type of nutritional value. And they can basically grow it anywhere in the world and just kind of like a vat. It's very interesting. And I just see those kinds of things really starting to take off as the world progresses and gets new kinds of food technologies, and it's proven to be healthy and very easy and cheap to grow. Something to look into perhaps at some point.
I've made a note out of it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun. Martin, do you have any questions for Thabang yourself?
Sure. I was listening to for what's interesting to me. My background is I'm a political science or political philosophy major, and so I'm very interested actually in the philosophy of how you make co-op work, for example, or if co-ops actually are meaningfully different from each other. And you kept saying or talking about values and how important it is that there's a sort of alignment of values or shared values for the co-op to work, like more so than the system things itself, because usually when people think about it in academia they emphasize the systems that once you get some sort of system going then it's just working out, but in practice I believe you might have the same kind of system, but depending on who the people are who organize to work within it, sort of could make the difference. So maybe if you could try to, because you weren't completely specific about what those values are, could you articulate what those values are that you believe are important that to be shared between the people for a project like that to work?
Yeah. Martin, I think one of the core values becomes just selflessness as an individual. Often you're entrusted when the members are not looking to either distribute, whether it be fertilizers, it could be seedlings, it could be seeds, it could be anything really. And being selfless in that you think that you're wanting to make sure that if the project itself, because you see the bigger picture, it's really about making sure that how the project to be at its most impactful that it can become, and not be more focused about either what position you take on in the thing, and what tasks you perform as well. We all want to be we all want to focus on doing the important tasks and important positions, but someone has to do the sweeping, someone has to do the tidying up, someone has to make the coffee. And it doesn't mean that it really means you take any less. So that I think is for me selflessness, because it speaks to the time that you give of yourself. We are busy messing around with a verticulture at the moment, trying to create organic compost. It's not the sexiest, it's not glamorous to do. You get your hands dirty, and you really start seeing how involved people are and how people just will do it over and over. And we've had a few failures. We've just had the biggest rainfall and it found these worms out. But we have to start again. So these are some of the for me that really becomes one of the core values. And I think also being able to put aside your differences. We all come from different political leanings, cultural leanings. And being able to put our differences aside. We have a strong focus that we want to empower women in what we do. And yet when the cultural aspect and the cultural issues start playing a role in it, you quickly start seeing people who are willing to compromise, to find common ground, and those that are just not willing to. It's really about I've spoken, and that really becomes the final word. So some of those values really, no matter how good a system is, I think if those values are not aligned, your system is bound to produce the desired outcome. You may still end up with an outcome, nonetheless.
Yeah.
But that's just and this is the second grouping that we have formed, with the first one just having fallen apart at the first challenge, just being challenged by a woman who said to you that we're talking about something about leaving children at home, for instance, and why mothers can't bring their children to work. And one woman said, but why? Who said I don't want to bring my child? Why would I want a stranger to look after my child? So very quick to see how we are challenged by the way we've been brought up and our belief systems as well. So yeah, values count for everything, I believe.
It makes sense. Thank you. I'm always interested in hearing from practice from somebody. And maybe one more thing I was also thinking about, we were talking about the advanced technologies or the new approaches. And I think I always, when I think about that, I always remember Netherlands as a country, because I think they're one of the, I'm not sure if you know, is that they're one of the actual major exporters of food. despite the fact that they don't really have at first glance a good reason to be, precisely because like they used a lot of technology to basically grow a lot of the stuff like indoors, like the sort of like a grow up type situation. So it's always interested in like just how much you can improve your situation by sort of being smart about how you're doing the thing. So how much of a difference would you say the sort of the application of for instance, like the vertical farming or the hydroponics makes compared to normal farming?
It would be huge. I think vertical farming would allow you to think to grow what, so you don't need as much space. But I think more importantly, it's just having total control of a growing environment that allows you to, one, grow the size. You're able to control pests. Less pests means less interventions as far as fertilizers go. We are able to grow high value crops when they scarce, therefore getting the better prices because we take a lot of our produce to the market. And we are often beaten by larger commercial farmers who compete on scale. They outnumber us, they outprice us, we become price takers. So it really, really would empower us with technology such as that we can then decide what we plant, when we plant it, and how often we plant it as well. We can choose to also target really high value. Someone was asking about artichokes, Jerusalem artichokes. We'd love to grow that. There are restaurants here that do it. We do what we call the garnishes in restaurants, micro herbs. We'd love to do those. The turnaround is a lot quicker. So there's so much more that we can take control of. We are in an area, for instance, that has wild hares, rabbits, that become, we spend sleepless nights just trying to keep them away from seedlings when they're at their most tender. The loss is just, the loss can be devastating from these little creatures. But technology really allows us to take full charge with limited space as well. And it's scalable. It's modular. I think as and when you have more resources to expand, you can then add and so it would work. You can do it anywhere. It doesn't even have to be in a rural setting. You can do it in a city. So you have a small area, you're able to cover it, and you provide a growing medium, and you can irrigate it. I think you're well on your way.
Yeah. I'm curious, what do you think about, I guess, patents in general, as far as the big companies coming up with all these new ideas and then kind of keeping it to themselves or hoarding it? Do you have like an opinion on things like that? Is it, I guess what I'm asking is it better for everyone around the world to kind of share all these technologies kind of freely and openly, or is it good? Does it help them grow more if we just kind of control them kind of on a corporate level and make money off them? I guess it's a weird question, and I'm just curious how you feel about it.
It is, but I think if we operate a closed system, then I think it becomes open to abuse. As you say, you can charge anything you want. And this is precisely one of the biggest challenges we have. Organic produce should not be more expensive than all the other stuff that we find that's sprayed with all the junk that we scare.
Yeah.
But because the technology has been made so difficult, we are trying to raise funds to build these tunnels, to buy the growing medium and everything else that we need, the irrigation systems. But it is so prohibitively expensive because it's only a few that do it, and that do it so well. You walk into a grocery shop and you look at a lettuce head grown organically versus one that has all the bad stuff in it. You are most likely to walk away with the cheapest one, which is not necessarily the best one. So I really think that these technologies, some of these, it is an intellectual property, but it should be shared. It should be shared for the betterment of society. It should be shared.
I absolutely feel the same. And I feel like patents, they had their time and place in the past, and there's certain industries where they kind of make sense. But I think as far as sharing food, sharing medicine, sharing those kinds of things, it'd be so much more better for everybody if we could just kind of get away from this IP, intellectual property kind of scam, if you will, and just share the joy of having good food and good medicine, worldwide. And I just wish the countries around the world would kind of open up more on some kind of a united front on those kinds of things. And that's, again, part of what we're doing here is trying to at least get those ideas out there, get people talking about that a little more, and get more CEOs around the world thinking, hey, how can we actually work together with other companies a little more to share this with more people and grow it faster, get that kind of technology out there faster, right? So
look, I think less hormones and additives in what we eat may lead to less aggression generally. I don't know if you're picking up just
that's
ramping of
interesting.
Yeah, and it's global. We talk about of this global marketplace, but I think it's also come with opening borders. Meant we consuming the same, we're sharing the same everything.
Yeah,
but I really think we would be better people for it.
How is the government there for trying to subsidize, I guess, clean food or healthy food? Do they do that at all there? Are there any tax subsidies or things that kind of help you out?
Well, not currently. We're talking of clean, alternative energy currently. But we're struggling to get off the box because coal, which is what we mine here, this is where we get the bulk of our energy. Just coal mining provides so many jobs. I don't see an attempt to subsidize the type of technologies because for as long as we use the traditional methods, I think it creates these jobs. But how sustainable these?
Yeah, we really need to shift towards the new kinds of jobs, right?
Provide a livelihood. Yes, absolutely. So we get subsidies in the form of grants, but these create a dependency where people just wait for this grant. It's never enough. I don't think we get enough support currently. It could be more.
Absolutely. And that's something I've definitely focused on in Canada as well, with just getting more subsidies towards healthy foods. Because like you said, even if I go to the supermarket here in Canada, I can buy sugary foods and junk packaged foods for a third of the price as anything organic or healthy. And for anyone trying to feed their kids on a budget, you're going to go towards the cheaper, crappier foods. And we have to pay for it in healthcare costs down the road. We have to pay for it in, less nutrition and less less mental well-being because of the health we said. So even in a country like Canada, it's the same kind of problems that you mentioned there. And we just need the whole world to rise a little bit about this kind of core problem of nutrition and realize that we can get $10 back for every dollar we put into healthy food and technology and making those things available to everybody.
And we don't have to spend so much on health care, and healthcare facilities are not that full. They're the causal effect of just eating well and maintaining a healthier lifestyle. Yeah,
it's just the best place that we could invest, government dollars or tax dollars is things like this. Agriculture, food's got to be number one, right? We've got to be healthy before we can expect world peace or expect anything else. We've got to be fed, right? If everyone was well fed and kind of well educated, I don't think we'd have much problem with war. Really, at the end of the day, like if you're happy and you're well fed and you're educated,
and this is the thing about being well fed, because if you're not well fed, you can't concentrate. If you can't concentrate, you can't learn. Exactly. So it's a vicious cycle.
That's the core foundation of if we're going to save the world, we've got to start with getting good healthy food out to everybody. And I'm so glad that you're being an active part in that. Anything that we can do to support you or help you, any of our viewers that want to help with the effort, we've got the Through the Golden Door link there. If there's any links you'd like to provide us as well, if anyone wants to be interested in joining your group in Winterveld, definitely hand that off to us. We can attach it here. You can send the link out to any of your friends or anybody there that would be interested in learning about this. It's the biggest way we grow is word of mouth. It's really about talking to people individual like this, spreading ideas and just seeing what works, right? And seeing how we can kind of inspire each other and give each other a little bit more hope and a little bit more happiness to get on with the work. So thank you so much for joining us today. This is great. Is there anything else you'd like to kind of touch on, Tahira, or any other questions you guys would like to bring up?
I'll share that Thabang is doing some great work, and then if anybody wants to join in and support his community, he has a WhatsApp group, right? And they can also come in and connect there.
Yes.
And then on the website, we have a feature on the Thabang's community. There is a video also, very interesting video that shows what he's been doing, what the learnings and all that. which can be shared. So
That's
yeah.
great. Thabang, can you just email me any links that you want us to share as a part of this, and we'll have them in the comments
Will
here.
do.
Add them onto
Thank
this
you,
video.
will
That'd
do.
be
Thank
great. Anybody, that wants to again get involved, reach out to us here, or reach out to Thabang or Tahira through the Golden Door, and we'd love to have anybody become a part of this great effort to feed the world healthy food, and starting in Winterveld, South Africa. Thank you so much for everything you're doing there, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Let's save the world together, everybody.